In this segment, we're going to be talking about Tory donors polarised by the, losing faith in Boris Johnson. Tory donors, polarised party, losing faith in the Johnson cult, and it should be interesting to see if they do pull donations, because a lot of them have been impacted. A lot of the traditional Conservative MPs, donors, banks, all the rest of them have been impacted. The Tories are still accepting or allegedly accepting Russian money, which will keep them propped up for a while, but general elections are unfortunately very expensive. So, article from Sunday the 12th, a big Tory donor said he cannot support Johnson after accusing him of overseeing an unconservative government, delivering a pathetic tax-cutting pledge and refusing to heed calls to change the course after his premiership. The Prime Minister facing a split over Brexit within days and a mounting revolt amongst backbenchers after a humiliating confidence vote. The hotelier, Sir Rocco Forte, said he will not put up with the direction Johnson is taking the party. And, if Johnson loses Tory party donors again, elections are expensive. It does put the Conservatives in a weaker position next time out. So this person, Sir Rocco Forte, told The Observer that Johnson had mishandled Partygate scandal and had been badly damaged by the confidence vote. Forte said that it was not simply a Conservative government. He was elected to deliver Brexit and win an election, which he did. But those of us who supported him expected him to build a competent team around him. So I'm guessing you're not a big fan of Nadine Dorries then, as he did when he was Mayor of London. He didn't do that when he was Mayor of London. He was not a good mayor. He wasted a lot of money. So that's a ridiculous statement. And the reality of this government is that it's not a Conservative government. How do you define a Conservative government? Is it Theresa May? Is it David Cameron? Is it Major? Is it Thatcher? How do you define what is a Conservative government? He says if you're running a business, you don't feel like this government is behind you in any way, which I guess is true. They've raised taxes. They're going to raise corporation tax soon, I think. I think it's this year. Also the fact that, without freedom of movement, a lot of these bigger businesses, big chains are struggling without the EU staff, without that expertise. British people simply can't replace them. That's what's happened here. Unless he changes tack and does something about that, which doesn't look likely because he's suggested he's doing all the things that he needs to be done already. So essentially what he's saying is Johnson's not going to change because he's claiming he's made all the changes already. I don't think people on the right of the party like me will put up with this. I mean, are you on the right of the party? I mean, this party Conservative Party is fairly right-wing as is. It's a bit ominous you've made that statement. He says, unless I see a Conservative government, what's the point of supporting it? And again, what do you want? Forte handed Johnson £100,000 for the last election campaign. I mean, again, donations should be capped way below anywhere near that. Should be capped around the £1,000 mark, in my opinion, because that buys you way too much influence. 100k. Crazy. Working for Johnson, other donors are also losing faith. This is John Caldwell, the billionaire founder of Phones for You, who gave the Tories £500,000 before the last election. I think it was him who allegedly paid for Johnson to go to the Caribbean as well, when Johnson wouldn't actually. I think he failed to register it in his interest registry. So this person here, John Caldwell, would not state if Johnson should go, but called for more investment. Rather than prudence, we need to borrow on an unprecedented scale and invest wisely. I mean, to be fair, the government have borrowed on an unprecedented scale. They've just invested badly. £32 billion on test and trace anyone. He said, pointing to renewable energy, infrastructure, subsidies for industry and apprenticeship. So what you want is a Labour government then, because the Tories won't deliver any of this. Maybe you should really change who you're voting for, John, mate. It comes as a former Conservative Party chairman, Chris Patten, said the party was in the grips of the Johnson cult, with cabinet ministers unwilling to turn on him, which is true, because he's got a stonking majority. The party was in the midst of a very long, nervous breakdown, and again, you can see the broad church of the Conservative Party kind of collapsing on itself. All the kind of, pro-European MPs are pretty much gone, and all you have now is a bunch of new MPs in 2019 who have no idea what they're doing, and a bunch of very, very right-wing MPs in the ERG, as well as others in the Tory party who are just bringing the party down because they have no understanding of how the real world works. Lord Patten added, we don't have a Conservative government at all, but an English nationalist party, which is true. They are very much a nationalist party, but how far is conservatism from nationalism? That's a good question, in my opinion. Unease amongst donors and grandees is another sign that Johnson remains on unstable ground. A confrontation is already building over Brexit, and again, he looks like he's going to get the votes enough to pass through the protocol legislation in the Commons at least. While the government has been trying to reassure MPs that the proposals would not reignite Brexit tensions, I mean, it is. The EU are taking legal action against us. This will very much bring back all of the issues we faced a couple of years ago. One Conservative source said the government is lying to its own MPs and the media about the illegal focus on this bill. I mean, that's not surprising at all. The Tory party is sleepwalking into a repeat of the Owen Paterson vote, where essentially they went to back Owen Paterson and they were going to reform the system completely, and then they had to back out and Paterson resigned in shame. So I semi-hope that happens, because the government backed down in the end over the Paterson stuff, and I hope they back down over the protocol stuff. It is understood that key legal advice was not present to the cabinet overseeing the plans. This is about the protocol. The Observer has established that Thomas D. Grant, an academic lawyer who worked in the US State Department during the Trump administration, had written articles supporting a hard Brexit, has been advising on the bill. And why do we have a guy who was advising the Americans? Like, surely this guy would know about American law. How much does he know about British law or any European law, EU law, for example? What does he know about it? I doubt he knows a lot. I'm not saying people can't have different levels of expertise in different fields, but what does this gentleman who worked in the Trump administration know, when the Trump administration was full of the biggest group of frauds ever, like Kellyanne Conway? Alternative facts, anyone? Whitehall sources said he offered advice, but he was not a central part of the legal team. So who was then? Who was a central part of the legal team? The rest of it's irrelevant to the article. I guess that bit I spoke about was a bit irrelevant. But the point being is that Johnson is struggling with Tory party donors. If these donors don't, Nadine Dorries said recently that why should they get rid of Boris Johnson? It'll be up to the donors to do that. She had something on those lines anyway. She was very adamant that Tory party donors were very important in this equation. What if these people don't, spend hundreds of thousands of pounds on the Tory party because they don't believe in the Tory party anymore? What are you going to do then? Anyways, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Support the channel on Patreon if you can. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one.